Hey everyone, Casey Scanlon here with another Lake of the Ozarks Fishing Report. It's April 12th and it's been a while since we did our last report, but we've been busy fishing. We've had several tournaments. I've had a Bassmaster Open and Toyota Series here recently. Was able to get first place in the Bassmaster Open, qualified for the Bassmaster Classic, so that's pretty cool. But we've done a lot of fishing away from home, but it is prime time here in the Ozarks. And the fish are biting. We've got the Big Bass Bash going on today, and already there's been an 8-pounder weighed in. So water is at 656, so still a few feet below full or summer pool as they call it. And you know, the fish are setting up to spawn. We got water temperature in the mid 50s throughout most of the lake. And we've got a lot of good watercolor in the lake, which means, you know, typically the fish get a little shallower. They get a little bit easier to catch. So looking forward to a really good spring. So it's good to see some watercolor in the lake. The lake has been super clear. Haven't got a ton of rain. So it's nice to get some water moving in the system. Usually just changes things up, gets the fish biting a little bit. Before I left for some of those tournaments, the crappie fishing had been absolutely fantastic most days. They're still a little fickle, a lot of the groups, but when they were moving up shallow, they were typically really easy to catch. So crappies were kind of on the verge of spawning, and I imagine they're just some, you know, a few really warm days away from a lot of those fish moving up there and spawning. They like to go a little bit earlier than the bass, it seems like. So they were full of eggs and getting ready just a few weeks ago. So I'm sure they're you know, really pushing up there and getting ready to spawn. So for the crappies, you know, when they get shallow, you know, a bobber with a minnow, a bobber with a jig has been really good. You know, just like a 1/16 ounce jig. I like to use a fixed bobber most of the time. I know a lot of guys like the slip bobber technique. It's easier to cast. Excuse me, you can get some more action out of your bait. But you know, the crappie fishing is going to be excellent. Road runners, you know, things with a little bit of flash will be really good. You know, this spring with the watercolor, you want something that's going to, you know, kind of produce some vibration, produce a little flash. And, you know, some of those road runner type baits with a little bit of a, you know, spinner on the front can be really excellent. So crappie fishing is going to be good, continue to be good. The fish have been super healthy. They've been really large this year, a lot of 11 to 14 inchers. But some of those fish will be staging on secondary points over shallow brush piles. A lot of those fish will spawn around shallow brush piles, backsides of docks. Gravel has been really important. Gravel, secondary points, things like that have been key places. And the fish have been sliding off those secondaries, moving into the pockets a little bit. So just looking for little indentations in the bank, brush piles around docks, little points, and gravel bars with mixed rocks. Seems like if you get a few bigger rocks in there on that gravel, they seem to hold the crappie a little better. And then if you get a little brush mixed in with that, you know, that even sweetens the spot just a little bit more. So 1/16 ounce heads typically. I like the Bass Pro Shops Baby Shad, Electric Chicken, and some of these, you know, brighter colors, little pink, little chartreuse. Probably going to be a little bit more productive around the spawn and with the dirtier water. But we got the Big Bass Bash going on, and a lot of guys are out on the lake fishing for bass. Like I said, 8-pounder weighed in. So, you know, watercolor's dirty with watercolors water temperatures in the 50s, which, you know, vibrating jigs, and of course my favorite, a spinner bait, are going to be exceptional. So I like a bigger bait, especially if you're going for bigger fish or in the Big Bass Bash. You know, a lot of these fish are looking to spawn, so shallow points around these spawning pockets, channel banks around these spawning pockets, secondary points, anywhere these fish can kind of load up and stage before moving shallow. A lot of them are already going to be shallow in the pockets, seeking out any kind of cover they can find, whether it's underneath the dock walkway and behind the cables, small brush piles, laydowns, you know, just behind the boat docks in general. Rock transitions, all of those things can hold fish. So fish are going to be moving up really shallow on sunny, warm days, looking around. Top waters can even be productive. I love throwing a buzz bait early. You can catch a lot of fish on that. But spinner baits, half ounce, 3/4 ounce, chatter baits. I've been throwing the new XPS chatter bait. It's really good. It's called the Chatter Bomb. Has a great hook in it, a lot of good colors, and catches some really big fish. Any kind of a jig, I like a darker color in this dirtier water. So lower into the lake, more of your traditional Ozark stuff, your browns, green pumpkins, anywhere from 5/16 up to a half ounce this time of year. I know that's a broad range, but I usually have a light jig on, 5/16, 3/8, and then something a little heavier, get a little deeper, skip it better, and get a larger profile behind some of these boat docks. So I'll usually have 2 different jigs tied on. Black and blue can be really productive this time of year. And believe it or not, even in this watercolor, the jerk bait can still be really productive. I know a lot of guys are going to be throwing crankbaits. Let's see, got a rock crawler on my Bass Pro cranking stick right here. Or actually, I'm sorry, that is a old school wigglewort right there. Rock crawlers work well. They get a little bit deeper than the wigglewort, but I've been catching a lot of my fish on that wigglewort, lately, and at Kentucky Lake and Norfolk even a little bit in practice. And it just gets a little shallower. So when the fish get shallower, you just throw a bait that gets a little shallower. And speaking of that, square bills have also been super productive. Again, you can see the color scheme here is a chartreuse and black. And, brighter colors in the spring typically work for me. And especially in, dirtier water conditions, the brighter colors seem to work really well. But pre-spawn in general, these fish, like a little bit of chartreuse. They like red, something to trigger them. Even in that clear water, you'd be surprised. They really do like kind of those brighter baits in that pre-spawn scenario. So, our next full moon, our next new moon, you're gonna have a lot of fish moving up trying to spawn, but we got a couple weeks until then. We just had a full moon. So these fish are gonna be pushing up and really pushing up shallow. Big bass bash, got to throw a big bait. So that is I don't even know who makes that glide bait, but that's just a 6-inch glide. And, it's a really good size for this lake. They eat a lot of gizzard shad. So those bigger baits like that usually catch bigger fish. You can catch a lot of small ones on those as well, but they do trigger some big bites. Sometimes you can go behind people and get a bite that maybe they wouldn't on a traditional bait. So it's spring of the year. A lot of lures are working. Any of your soft plastics, your wacky rigs with like a Bass Pro Shop Sticko on the back, any kind of creature bait, beaver style bait, anything that you got confidence in. Tube, Bass Pro Shop's flipping tube. That's what I was able to win that Bassmaster Open on Norfolk on. So all of those are key baits around the pre-spawn. Pick your favorite, experiment with some colors, flip them behind the docks, put them in any kind of visible cover you can on these spawning pockets or channel banks or any kind of deep water leading up to these spawning coves. So think spawn this time of year, think shallow. The fish are gonna be moving into those pockets. They're gonna start relating to boat docks a lot more right now. So pay attention to the docks and behind the docks. And think spawn. Get on some of these gravel banks, these flatter banks, and a lot of these fish are gonna be setting up, trying to lay their eggs and make a nest in the next couple weeks, whether it's bass or crappie. They're all gonna be moving up there and kind of utilizing the same places, to be honest. Those bass and crappie really like a lot of the same areas. So good luck to you guys fishing the Big Bass Bash. 8-pounder is a tall task, but there's some really big fish in here, and you guys got a really warm, windy day tomorrow for the bash. So wind is always good for reaction baits, whether it's that glide bait, a spinner bait, or the chatter bomb from Bass Pro Shops. Those baits right there are gonna get it done when the wind's blowing. Those fish get a little bit more keyed in on reaction baits, and they're a little bit more willing to chase. So if you're willing to do it, put yourself out there in the wind, throw some big baits, throw a lot of baits with vibration and flash. and try to get that big reaction bite, and you might be able to top that 8-pounder and win $100,000 at the Big Bass Bash. So I've got some guide trips coming up, but I do have a lot of availability going into the summertime. May and June look pretty open. Got a few tournaments scheduled, but if you're looking for a guide trip, message me or send me an email, and we'll try to get out on the water. And if you're needing some batteries, check out wholesalebatteries.net. You can choose your battery on there. They've got all the best name brand batteries, and they will actually deliver them to your doorstep. So check out wholesalebatteries.net if you're needing a battery, and we'll give you guys another fishing report here in a couple weeks. So good luck to you.